All right, let's jump right into this explainer. If you're an educator or dedicated parent guiding a kid through their first serious year of language learning, you know exactly how daunting that blank academic calendar can look, right? Plus, we all know how notoriously short a first grader's attention span can actually be. So today, we're uncracking the Smart Kids First Class Telugu curriculum. We're going to map out the whole academic year, moving from the big picture structure right down to the daily classroom magic, so you can plan with absolute confidence. You know, what's really fascinating about this foundational curriculum by Smart Kids is its core philosophy. When you're teaching 6 and 7-year-olds a complex language like Telugu, it is so easy to fall into the trap of rigid, dry memorization. But this curriculum, it beautifully balances a strict, predictable academic schedule with just genuine, vibrant joy. It's highly structured, yes, but it's literally built for engagement. To make sure you leave this explainer fully equipped, we're taking a macro to micro journey today. We'll cover the Smart Kids blueprint, pacing the academic year, navigating the practice keys, the anatomy of a lesson, and finally, fostering student creativity. Let's kick things off with part 1, the Smart Kids blueprint, a macro view. Because honestly, having a solid architecture for the Telugu Vachakam and its companion keys is the absolute foundation of a stress-free teaching year.
The really brilliant thing about this comprehensive guide is how it seamlessly centralizes both the textbook content and the practice answers for you. So instead of juggling a mountain of separate teachers' manuals and answer sheets, which, let's face it, is a total headache, you have a single, reliable point of reference. This is going to drastically reduce your lesson prep time and let you stay entirely focused on the kids.
Okay, now that we've got the blueprint established, let's move to section 2, pacing the academic year, the rhythm of learning. Teaching is all about pacing that flow perfectly from June all the way to March. Notice how incredibly intentional this monthly progression is. In June, we get a very gentle syllabus kickoff. It's mostly oral work, so we aren't throwing the children into intense writing right off the bat. Then, by July, we introduce some really engaging rhymes. In August, we deepen that vocabulary, and September is dedicated entirely to a term review. This setup is crucial because it ensures your students build their language skills incrementally without ever feeling overwhelmed right at the start of the year. Of course, pacing isn't just about what you teach. It's about checking what they actually understand. That's why formative and summative assessments are woven so seamlessly into these months. Early on, those formative assessments act as low-stakes, real-time checkpoints. And then, summative assessment 1 caps off that whole first term from June to September. It creates really clear, predictable evaluation checkpoints for you, ensuring absolutely no student slips behind unnoticed. So, with the big picture mapped out on your calendar, let's transition into navigating the actual physical materials you're going to hold in your hands every single day in the classroom. Which brings us to section 3, navigating the practice keys, your teaching compass. Let's see how the index keeps you and your students perfectly aligned. I have to say, the master index here is a total lifesaver for logistical planning. It specifically pairs the Telugu Vachakam textbook directly with the corresponding practice book. It completely eliminates the guesswork. The second you finish a concept in the main text, this index tells you exactly where the supporting exercises live. Let's break that down into practical terms for a second. For your first graders, the Book 1 key begins on page 7, and the corresponding practice book key follows right after on page 13. Plus, additional practice solutions are conveniently tucked at the back of each class section. The logistics here are just so incredibly teacher-friendly. You can fluidly shift from teaching the main instructional lesson at the whiteboard straight into guiding the kids through their practice workbooks, all without missing a single beat. All right, let's zoom in from that macro structure right down to the micro level for section 4, anatomy of a lesson, zooming in. What does the actual day-to-day classroom experience feel like? Well, this is where the curriculum truly shines. Every single chapter utilizes this brilliant 4-step pedagogical loop. Listen and speak, read, write, and pronounce, and finally, creativity. This systematic loop is a game changer because it ensures hyperactive first graders are absorbing the Telugu language through multiple sensory pathways. It literally locks in their retention before they even realize they're working. And the content within that loop scales perfectly too. If we compare Lesson 1, which focuses entirely on simple vowels, with Lesson 3's jump to foundational consonants, we can see a really steady logical progression. You're carefully building the child's phonetic foundation block by block, making absolutely sure they've mastered the sounds before asking them to construct complex words.
But what makes this curriculum truly vital is realizing that nestled right within these rigorous academic steps, the vowels, the consonants, the writing drills, is this vibrant, beautiful celebration of culture.
And that brings us to our final part, Section 5, Fostering Student Creativity, Joyful Learning. Let's explore exactly how the curriculum uses familiar, culturally rich elements to anchor memory. Because we aren't just learning sterile sounds here. Throughout the year, students are diving into cultural rhymes like Ava Buva in August, the classic Chema Cheka in November, and Enugama Enugu in January. And alongside this, they're introduced to vivid, real-world vocabulary, from everyday objects like a kalam, a pen, to majestic historical concepts like an Antha Hapram, a queen's royal residence. Weaving in these nostalgic cultural rhymes and vivid words guarantees that the children are emotionally engaged and, most importantly, having a blast while they learn. Furthermore, there are dedicated creativity exercises that beautifully bridge the gap between abstract letters on a page and real-world understanding. I mean, it's one thing to learn the letter for I, but it's a whole other thing to creatively connect it to the concept of Iravatham, the mythological white elephant. These micro-level creative exercises are where the language truly comes alive. It transforms basic rote memorization into active, imaginative understanding. Ultimately, the success of the Smart Kids curriculum lies in this exact balance. It provides a rigorous, modern, logistical structure for you, the educator, but it seamlessly pairs that structure with deeply engaging, beautifully traditional cultural content for the student. It's the best of both worlds, really. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this thought. You've got the roadmap. You have the step-by-step pedagogical loops, the built-in assessments, and the rich cultural touchstones. As you sit down to prep your lesson plans, ask yourself, how will you personally harness this methodical blueprint to bring the playful energy and the rich joy of the Telugu language to your first graders this coming academic year? The tools are all right here in front of you. Now, it's time to teach. Thanks so much for joining me on this deep dive.